The open calls are sort of designed to get like a critical mass of this a certain kind of project on the site at the same time. Some of this is proactive. Make 100 was designed as a like inspiring sort of like new year, new creative project, like do something small and fascinating that's like just 100 of one thing. We see a lot of first-time creators do make 100. We see a lot of staff do make 100 projects. And then some of them are reactive to the community. So like Witchstarter was our way of sort of like focusing attention on, you know, woo-woo, spooky, witchy, new agey kinds of things in October, which is when those sorts of projects are likely to be on the site anyway. So they all kind of like came to us from different directions, and we've had more or less attention paid to them over the years. Some of them, long story short, is category specific, so that's for short films. Heartstrings and Hardbacks is for romance novels. Zine Quest is for RPG zines. And then some of them are bound by time. So Micro May is only happening in May. Heartstrings and Hardbacks is only in July. So there's different sort of like criteria for each one. If you click on each of the open calls at this page, you will see all the campaigns that are tagged either live or successful with those tags. And you'll also see an application to join the open call. This is new. We're trying to sort of like more professionalize and make it easier for people to see the open calls, understand how to participate in them. So you can use those application forms to, if you have a campaign that you think is going to fit the criteria for any of the open calls, that's where you send it. A little bit of like under the hood, the way these projects get tagged requires like admin access, which I have, but it is not, for some of the bigger projects, it's a lot easier if other folks in the company can like know and do the tagging and not just me. So that's kind of why. And also the applications like help us make some determinations internally. I don't have to be on top of, or other outreach folks all the time, sort of like knowing what's happening and that sort of stuff. It also helps our marketing team, which does a lot of extra like spotlights and newsletters and social posts during these different open calls. I'm going to pause there. I mean, well, actually, okay, wait. So there are 24 questions that y'all had asked prior to this. I imagine that I just answered about half of them. We can stay here, or Dana, do you think I should do just a brief explanation of the Author Nation cohort and why it's different, and then we'll kind of get to the questions?
Yeah, and I also think why we're here. So I'm sharing the page, guys, that says open calls. So um, I didn't even quite know about this until this morning. So I do think this is great for you to actually see the page. Am I correct in saying like they're obviously not all for publishing,
Oh,
right?
yeah, for
This is
sure.
right. So if you went through this, how would you know? Like obviously, I know Heartstrings and Hardbacks is for the publishing world because I've been a part of it and we have open communication, but do they, if I click on this, does it tell you more about like what categories it is? Like, could we go through this maybe? Because I know we've got a lot of romance authors on the
Yeah, sure.
call that would be interested in what this is. I mean, these were the ones from last year.
Yeah, and so it tells you right there, you see, let the world fall in love with your romance writing. There's the application, the copy in the column to the right of that explains what kind of projects belong in this cohort or in this
Okay.
open call. And then if you roll, so see where it says heartstrings and hardbacks, discover more. No, down right.
Discover more. Yeah.
Yeah, that will show you everything that's ever been tagged as heartstrings and hardbacks. If you want to, so you can see that some of these are not yet live. So it's got this year's, some folks that are running this year. If you want to see only what happened last year, if you scroll up a little, see where it says more filters.
Yeah.
So click that and change all projects to successful projects. And that'll show you that's everything that has already run that's tagged with heartstrings and hardbacks. So
Okay.
that's all of last year's campaigns. If you do this same mechanism with Witchstarter, with Long Story Short, you'll get projects that go back years and years and years.
Right. Because this one's only a year old. It just
Exactly.
started last year.
Exactly.
And would there be a way for an somebody who is a backer coming on here looking for, let's say, romance? Is there communication and education for the backers to know about heartstrings and hardbacks? or is that?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of like we'll post in many of our newsletters leading up to this. We'll probably start announcing it in my monthly Kickstarter Reads newsletter with this month's edition. I imagine it'll also there will be a teaser for it probably in the comics newsletter, in the our new Not Safe for Work newsletter. There's also like content cards and push notifications on the website and in mobile. So yeah, and social posts, of course. So like we're through all of our various avenues, we're reminding people that this is around. And, we would do the same micro May and Zine Quest or games specific. So, like, that's getting teased in those newsletters. And there's a lot of like site banners for like super backers of games projects. They'll like hear about it. Yes. So, we are trying to surface it as much as possible in as many places as possible.
Okay, very cool. And then right now in publishing, just to go back here, there's only two Heartstrings and Hardbacks and Witchstarter in October, correct?
Make 100 is category agnostic, and Witchstarter is category agnostic. So for sure, you could do a publishing project for either of those. And Zine Quest, frankly, I mean, RPGs are books,
Yeah,
really. So if
yeah,
that's the kind of thing, I mean, I would not recommend being like, it's a novel that has RPG elements. I'll put it in Zine Quest. That probably wouldn't work. But if you are doing an RPG, you certainly could put that in Zine Quest.
okay. Very, very cool. Okay, I will stop sharing this so everybody now sees what it looks like and where they can go. Okay, let's see. Do you want to start with some of the questions?
Yeah,
We've
sure.
got a question about heartstrings and hardbacks. Is there a timeline on how long it takes from application to confirmation or denial of inclusion? I applied 6 weeks ago. I know someone else who applied about 8 or 9 weeks ago, but we've not heard back.
Oh, that should have been, you should write to our fast track support inbox, which I'm gonna put in the chat. It should be a week at the absolute most. It should probably only be a couple of days. So I think that must have fallen through the cracks.
Okay, and then that email, you're adding the support email
I
to the
just put it
bottom.
in the chat. It's
Awesome.
PWL support at Kickstarter.com. You can also send it to me, but I'm just gonna route it to the support team. So it'll be quicker for you to just send it directly to them.
We've got another question. What is Kickstarter doing to promote off the platform? It feels like special edition romantasy is so huge and that the platform could really find a lot of new backers by leaning on that aspect outside the platform.
That's a question for our marketing team, really. I mean, we have every social channel. We spend a ton of time doing social posts and things like that. I don't have like a comprehensive answer for you, but I think, Kickstarter, like every Kickstarter campaign is also promoting Kickstarter as a whole. So I think there's a real groundswell, especially with special editions of like, the more that we're talking about it and amplifying people's various social posts, that's the intention is the rising tide and all the boats. Plus, of course, the work that I do, just being like doing webinars and panels and Q&As and AMAs and all those sorts of things.
Assuming the submissions are accepted, are the open calls a good place for a new author to be?
So let's think about these open calls in a sort of like broad sense. They're great, but they're not miraculous. I mean, what is happening is like you're sort of like being part of a slightly larger groundswell of like a lot of somewhat similar projects, which can be a pro or a con. It can be helpful for you to build your own community. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier to figure out
client, right? So Sabrina here, and you can reuse the same content for the client. So if you
Guys, we need you to mute everyone needs to be muted.
Can we manually mute somebody? No. Oh.
I just did. I just want to make sure that
Um, Yeah, I don't want anybody thinking that these open calls are like a magic bullet to go from 0 to 60 without doing all of the work that you would need to be doing anyway to promote your campaigns. They're, in fact, if these open calls are so successful, there can become a tipping point in a category like publishing where I don't think usually having a lot of similar projects on the site can cannibalize one another's backers, but if there were 1,000 romance novels on the site all in July, then I think you do start to worry about, more people or backers having only so many dollars that they can put toward these projects. So if you want to run your campaign in June or in September or in January, don't hold it like 6 months just so you can participate in the open calls. I don't think it's like transformatively huge like that. Yeah. What was the original? Oh, is it good for a first time author? Yes, sure. But it's not like so much wildly better than just running the campaign whenever you were planning to run it, that I wouldn't do a lot to change your sort of like your planning and scheduling just so that you can be part of the cohort.
What about a comic book that is based off of a lit RPG book series? Would that be allowed to be in the Zine Quest?
I actually have no idea. I don't. That's such an edge case. Maybe, but I think again, most of the people who are coming for Zine Quest, they just want a game. I'm not sure that it would be of that much interest to the backers. I mean, maybe it would. I'm not really, I used to run comics, but it's been several years and I've never been that deep in the games world. So I don't know. I don't know. Somebody would make that decision that isn't me, and I'm just not sure it would be like a huge difference for you either way to have that tag on your campaign or not.
Would there be somebody that she could write to from comics or
I
games
mean, yeah, you just send in the application and
application?
then
Oh, okay.
probably either the support team who fields those would make the call themselves, or they would check in with Sam and Asher, who run comics and games respectively, and let them weigh in.
Okay. I didn't think that. I just thought maybe helpful. Oh, somebody was about the building for new author. I thought it would be helpful for building my audience. And so she said,
For
thanks.
sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it can be helpful. Yes. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm certainly not suggesting that these cohorts are not lovely. I just don't want people to come into it thinking like, oh, I don't have to do the rest of the work. I can just join this cohort and everything will happen for me.
Yeah. Do you want to explain the difference between the Author Nation and the cohorts? And then we can walk, we've got a bunch more on this side too.
Totally, totally. So I think I linked the author. So the Author Nation cohort is totally different. This is not like Kickstarter. I mean, it's Kickstarter supported, but it's not Kickstarter designed. All of these open calls have come from within Kickstarter to our audience. The Author Nation cohort is a partnership that I am doing as the head of publishing with Author Nation and Reader Nation, which is a conference that happens in Vegas every year. What we are doing is a sort of like 6-month long partnership where we work together to help bring creators together to put their publishing campaigns on their site, on our site. We have I am doing an every other month sort of like strategy session with all of the authors who are in this cohort, but I understand that the cohort themselves are meeting weekly without me, so that they can. This is also just like deeply about building communities, skill sharing, like strategy overlaps, and they will be listing all of the campaigns in the cohort on their site. There's also an element of IRL. There's an IRL element to this partnership because the sort of like it's driving toward the Reader Nation Day at Author Nation in November. So if you are going and if your backers are going, you can sell your books there. You can have rewards that are given out only IRL. So there's like that component as well. It's like a totally separate partnership that I'm just doing in my category with this company versus these kind of like Kickstarter founded initiatives that we're making available to everybody all the time.
And where can they find information on how to join that?
Yeah, I dropped the link. I
Oh, you
dropped the
did?
link.
Okay. Perfect. And that there's no tag for that, guys. So if you,
Yeah, that won't appear. There's not like an icon that will show up on Kickstarter. I mean, maybe Author Nation will make an icon that you could put on top of your project image, but I won't have access to do something like that.
okay. Um, how does Kickstarter decide? So kind of on a more of a not necessarily cohort, but just in general, like how does Kickstarter decide which projects to feature or promote potentially during the cohort, but maybe just in general as well?
Yeah, that is an ongoing question. I guess I do have an article about that from our help center. Let me pull that up. Um, do, do, do. Here we go. How to get featured on Kickstarter. So I just dropped that in the chat. We feature what we consider to be the best exemplars of how to do Kickstarter, and that is very wide-ranging by category and like creator by creator. There's some stuff in there about like what we like to see, but really I would like to emphasize that like all of these, the features, the projects we love, like all stuff like this, it's done by our marketing team. Like they're sort of like looking at things all day, and it's not a make or break. Like, of course, it is helpful, but I get people all the time, begging me to get the projects we love tag. Like, most, especially for an early career creator in a category like publishing, the majority of your audience is coming from off platform. They're coming like, through a podcast you're on or a newsletter they see or like all of this stuff. And like, especially for early first time or like, not super experienced backers, they will never know. They will never notice or care whether your campaign has a little tag that says projects we love. People get very, 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 very fixated on getting that distinction. And I'm not saying it isn't helpful, it is, but it's also not make or break. Like people have, these almost superstitious beliefs that if they don't get one, they'll never fund. And that is completely untrue. So, yeah, that's a broad answer, which is to say, the most important thing is to make a great campaign. Make a campaign that speaks to your specific community and your people. Make it clear, make it visually interesting, make it, well organized, compellingly written. Make sure that you've included all of the elements that people are going to want to know to get them excited about what you're doing. And that should be enough to take care of itself.
Um, we've got, I know several authors set up monthly book funnels for campaigns. And if you guys don't know, book funnels is great for digital solutions and delivery for your ebooks and your audiobooks. Is that something Kickstarter would help amplify?
Um, what is the question? Would we amplify a book funnel page?
I don't know. You, do you mean page? Or do you mean just the fact that it exists and it's a delivery source? The page.
I don't I don't know. I mean, Kickstarter is largely in the product in, our focus is largely on promoting Kickstarters. So maybe you're wanting like our social team to tweet, here is a page full of other Kickstarters.
You can unmute yourself if you want.
Yeah, it's fine, Anthea.
God, and you're one of us. I think this is a good one if you want to just say it.
Yeah, sure. Also, hello, good morning.
Morning, Anthea.
Thanks so much for doing this.
Of
Yeah,
course.
so there's a couple of themed book funnels that a number of the authors in the Kickstarter author group do. So there's a May fantasy Kickstarter one running right now that is everybody just applies, puts their Kickstarter in, and it's just this whole page of, so kind of like when you were talking about the Author Nation cohort, all the authors are sending traffic to the book funnel page, which is a big listing of Kickstarters, fantasy Kickstarters that are running this month, for example. So even if that's not something Kickstarter necessarily would help promote, it's another example of how authors can sort of join forces to get eyeballs on their various Kickstarters all in one place. I'm
Yeah,
trying to find,
I think
yeah,
that's an excellent example of community building, and I am sure that that is doing really good work to help all of those authors. I can ask, but I think it's unlikely that like an official Kickstarter channel would send people off platform in order to bring them back on platform. I'm just not sure that
right.
that would make
That
a
makes
lot of
sense.
sense for them.
Yeah.
But I think that that's really smart for the authors to do in order to cross promote and to help one another. I love that.
If you have the link like for the May one and you want to throw it in here, I'll pop it up and then I'll share the screen and show everybody. Because that I think that'd be really cool for this is, we're here today to talk about community, to get people on the Kickstarter platform. So any tidbits or things that have helped any of you guys, like this is a great place to share that.
Totally, totally.
It doesn't just have to be what Kickstarter does, because like, like Oriana just said, like they're probably not going to direct somebody to go off platform to come right back on platform. They're going to take their marketing and draw it to the platform. But having other communities like this, and even the Author Nation one, is a great place to like meet other authors that are going through the same thing that you're doing, share audiences, talk about it, get more eyeballs on it. So yeah, that would be awesome if you could share that in the chat if you could find one. I didn't even know that existed.
And like keep in mind, I mean, Kickstarter has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of live projects all the time in so many categories to so many audiences, even if yeah, I actually think that sort of like targeted community building efforts is more helpful than, if we were to tweet. I keep using Twitter, but let's say we did a Facebook post to our 2 million, subscribers, the vast majority of whom are just there for like games and gadgets. Like it would be not very effective, I don't think. Whereas, a dozen authors all sharing this out so that they can make sure their backers also have the opportunity to support other writers who are like them. I think that's much, much more effective.
So here's one, and thanks for sharing that, Anthea. This is great. So this is for May fantasy Kickstarters, searching for your next favorite story. And then these are, I assume, if I click, let's see. Yep. Oh, interesting. So it takes you to,
The
that's so
book
cool. So it
page.
takes you to that and then back the campaign, and then it takes you to the campaign. That's
I love
neat.
it. That's so nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. So that's how it gets you. I wish it just took you straight to the campaign. Like a one click. Thoughts for Damien? Damon. All right, cool. Next question. Let's see. So if you're running a campaign and you forgot to apply during, let's say, like July, which is just in case you guys came on a little late, July 1st, right, till the last day of July, you could
Yep.
be, if your campaign runs through that month at any point, you could be part of Heartstrings and Hardbacks. But remember, guys, this is romance of some sort, right? So you're probably going to want to apply if it's romance of some sort. But if you forgot to apply for it and it's July 1st and the campaign is, running, can you apply then or is
Yeah.
it shut down? Okay, so you can
Yeah, no, go ahead. Apply anytime.
apply anytime. So great. Okay. And then remember, guys, Witchstarter is October 1st through October 31st, right? Okay. Cool. Um, is there anything or tidbits that you have for standing out during a cohort event?
I don't think the advice would be any different than at any other time. I mean, make sure that you are speaking to the audience that that cohort is talking to. If you're doing like a romantasy, make sure you emphasize the romance aspects at least as much as, if not more than, the fantasy aspect, since the understanding is that people coming here are probably more interested in romance. But, it's always the same basic advice. Have nice imagery, have clear communication, separate into sections, use the sidebar table of contents so people can easily get around the page, have a compelling project image, make a lovely campaign. I don't think there's any real different advice during or within a cohort than otherwise.
Any badges that they should add?
I ask them that all the time. I hope that they do one. I can't make that. That's not,
Okay.
I want a little Kickstarter K with a witch's hat on it for Witchstarter, and one with like big lipsticky lips for
Oh,
heartstrings.
I
Lovely.
love that.
Yeah, man, if one day maybe they'll listen to me and we'll get one. There's nothing I can do.
I love badges. Like, remember Girl Scouts, anyone?
I know.
What? The
I
more
know.
badges, the merrier,
I've been
people.
saying it and saying
Man.
it.
All right. Well, we can all write in. Um,
Totally. Right to support and tell them you want it.
and let's take a vote for themed badges. I like that. You can be part of more than one cohort, right? Like if
Yeah, of
you,
course.
yep, okay, great. Um, I can still use my own marketing and audience. Obviously, if you're in
Yes,
a
please.
cohort,
Please do.
please do.
Please, 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 please. If you only take one thing from this conversation, do not assume that being in an open call is going to do all the work for you. Please, please, please.
I love that. What happens if my project is ready, but the next cohort is months away? Not sure.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, unless there is like a dramatically compelling reason why you must run it during the cohort, you should run it when you're ready. I mean, yeah, I would absolutely not wait for weeks and months just so that you can be part of this cohort, which, as I said, could make a difference on the margins, but is for sure never going to make or break a campaign.
Are there any campaigns that ran during the cohort programs that stick out to you that that maybe for which starter you're like this nailed it, or for heartstrings and hardbacks
Yeah, I think though that again, like it wouldn't be any different than a campaign that I think is awesome.
or
I
any
would
other
have
time?
like, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're trying to see how to do a good Witchstarter campaign, go to that Witchstarter page, sort and filter it to show you like most backed projects or campaigns with projects we love. Just like look through what other people are doing and because also like I can tell you here are some great authors who did lovely campaigns, but maybe they're slightly different than the work that you're doing, or maybe your aesthetic is different or your organizational style. Like there's not like one, it would not be correct to find one really successful campaign and just like mirror it as closely as possible. You should make it your own. You should use other campaigns as examples for sure, but it doesn't really matter what like I think is the coolest.
It matters to me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, do you like this? You're like, yes. I'm like,
I
okay.
like them all. I
I
love
know
Lee.
there's so many good
There's so
campaigns
many
out
great
there.
campaigns. It's unbelievable.
Um, Will Kickstarter provide ongoing support and resources during my live campaign? Is there a place that you think should people, when they're live, like we always talk about the slump. I mean, everybody knows, right? That mid-campaign slump. Is there resources that talks about that on Kickstarter that you could point us to, not necessarily for the cohort, but just in general?
Let me see. I think I might have hold on, mid-campaign promo. Yeah, here's a recent blog post about how to overcome the mid-campaign slump. What do you know? Yeah, but I think, the advice is relatively what you would expect. Find ways to keep the enthusiasm up. Think about new and different ways to talk about the project, change up your imagery, do some backer swaps, add new rewards, put in stretch goals. Like it's all the same kinds of ideas that everybody would probably be thinking about doing anyway. I was also going to say, uh, my colleagues on the launch support team, I can't talk and type at the same time. Uh, I think I spelled that right. Launch support at Kickstarter.com. You can write to them at any time. They're available to do a campaign review before you launch or to give you advice during the course of the project. Yeah, so there's, tons of stuff in our help center, in our creator dashboard. We recently launched a whole new learning lab. Let me get you that link. Learning. Yep. So that's there. We do our best to give you as many resources for as many elements of the campaign as we possibly can. So go forth and find.
I love it. We only have a couple more. Um, are there networking opportunities with other creators in the same cohort? So, like, for example, when can we find out about who else is in that cohort and maybe reach out to do backer swaps or things like that? And then what's
Yeah, I
kind
would just check that page. As you could see when we showed the H&H one at the beginning, the campaigns that are in active pre-launch that have already been tagged in, those are there now, and that will just continue to grow. Places like the Facebook, Kickstarter for Authors Facebook group, there are lots and lots of like subreddits and like Reddit threads where you can find other folks. Yeah,
and what is the protocol that makes sense on Kickstarter, that we know that like you can't solicit on Kickstarter, but is it okay to write to another creator
totally.
or
But I
acceptable
would
to
say
say?
manage your own expectations. It is for sure fine to reach out to a creator. If you decide to reach out to a creator who's like way bigger than you, it's fine to shoot your shot. Don't get mad if they politely decline or maybe don't even have a chance to get back to you. Creators are just people. So go ahead and do what you can to reach out, but understand that not everybody is going to be able to jump in and do cross promotion with you.
And then we have some more chat questions is, and you might not know this because I don't know how familiar is because I don't, but Kickstarter thinking about doing collabs similar to what Backer Kit is doing? And then somebody commented under that Printopia, which I've heard about, but I don't know much about.
Yeah, Printopia is coming, I think in September. I saw that. The difference with the backer kit ones, I'm not like as deeply familiar, but my understanding is that they must run exactly at the same time. Like they all have to have the same start and end dates. There are a bunch of specs about what the campaigns have to do. And it's a lot about like collaborative rewards and specifically assigned cross promo. Backer Kit has dramatically fewer both creators and backers. So it's a little easier for them as a company to do this sort of like really hands-on structure. I am both the head of publishing and the entire publishing category at Kickstarter. So if something like that were to have to be developed, the amount of sort of like hands-on legwork, that's a double metaphor that sucks. But anyway, it's not possible with the time that I have, to put together something that's that detailed. I think the best thing about those is the idea of collaborative rewards. We actually did borrow that for the Author Nation cohort. Our idea is that I think I forget where we landed. I think if somebody backs at least 3 cohort campaigns and is coming to Reader Nation, they get like a cool VIP swag bag that they can only pick up in person in Vegas. I love that. And I don't know that Kickstarter official has plans to do that, but there is no reason you can't do that with your fellow authors. We've seen a lot of that kind of like collaborative
Cross-promotion.
reward sort of idea spun up, and I think it's wonderful. So I super support anybody putting together anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's great too. I mean, there's nothing better than cross-pollinating. Like you have the
Totally.
same reader audience that I do. Let's do an email swap. Let's say something on our campaign. If you support this, it would just be you'd have to manage it.
I can just share, this is not a romance, but I had a couple of journalist campaigns do this last year. It was Flaming Hydra and the Fly Trap. There's those two. They had like a dual subscription reward. They did not know each other. They just happened to launch their campaigns at the same time. They found each other. They actually both found me and were like, "Who is that?" And so I helped connect them, and they added in a collab subscription reward during the middle of the campaign.
Let's see. I bet you it's on there. Oh yeah, free subscription.
Yeah. I forget. I think, hold on. Do.
It's probably on the page.
It's called on the Flaming Hydra page, it's called something like super two-headed double subscription or something. Oh, that's what I backed. Didn't I? Ay, ay, ay. This is boring to watch me scrolling a campaign, but you guys can find it, I'm sure.
It's still neat that they found each other. They
Totally.
didn't
I love
have
that.
like any type of communication prior to this, and they were
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we should collab together." I think
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
So good.
And it's in the chat, guys, if you want to just click on it and then do some research there.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. It was called Flaming Hydra Alt Media Cooperative Volt. That is the one that I backed. 1 year Friends of the Flytrap subscription, 1 year Flaming Hydra subscription for $60, which was, I forget how much less than 2 individual subscriptions.
And we just have 2 more, but we do have somebody who said, speaking of collab, is anyone interested in dropping their social media handles and their category of their project in the chat as we wrap up? Absolutely. Feel free to do that. That's a great way to meet people. And so if you guys want to do that, I think we've got one more question and that's it. Do you have any analytics from last year's or the past years for Witchstarter, which I'm very proud of myself. I haven't said Witchtober in this entire time. I keep calling it that because it's that's the only way I can remember it's October.
Totally.
But any analytics on engagement during that time or analytics on backers? Like, was there a huge like rush of audience during those months because of those two, or is that even something that you
I
guys?
don't think that I don't have access to analytics like that. I mean, I could request, I would have to talk to the insights team and like request a report. I don't think I don't think so. I don't think that like this is I'm trying to be like, balanced about this, but like
Yeah.
I don't think that there are people sitting around who are like, I want to go to Kickstarter, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting till October. That's the only time I can get me those tarot decks and those like albums made on a theremin and the spooky ghost stories. Like people come. They come when they come. They come when they want to. I think October is also historically one of the busiest months on the site. So
Yeah.
it would be, I think, additionally difficult to separate out who's coming specifically for which start, like there's just, I know that people really want this like proof points and like, it's not, it doesn't exist that way. I'm really sorry.
That's okay. If you've got pre-launch pages and you want to put them in here, we will do a wrap up. We always do. And if you've been on any of our other calls, we do a wrap up email. We're more than happy to put the links to your pre-launch pages in this particular wrap up one, because we are talking about community here. So, Amanda, you're going to kill me, but we've got, I see Cal put hers in here. We've got Catherine. If you want to grab those, Amanda, I'll keep this up. Elle just launched on Tuesday, so throw that in there, throw them in here. And then I think we should talk about the Kickstarter for Author group. If you're not on that Facebook group, get on that. That's a great community and a great place to get feedback. It's just a wonderful place of support. You can always make sure you read the rules. But once you read the rules, yeah, everyone loves that group, right? And that's how many of us know each other. So it's a great place to, feel very supported in something that can feel very daunting, but can also be a great new revenue stream for you. So is there any other questions we have? We've got 4 minutes, so we crushed this. Any other questions that you guys have that you want to? Now, we're not going to share personal information. We're just going to share launch pages, Kickstarter pre-launch pages or launch pages. I know you guys are putting like emails and socials. I just want to make sure that's clear. Will only be sharing those. But if you want to, you can keep doing that. Amanda, if you haven't been mad at me yet, just let me know when you've got all of them. I think there's about 4 or 5 in here. And is any other questions we've got? Because that's all I've got. Oriana, is there anything else that you want to wrap up for like best tips to be successful on Kickstarter in general? Doesn't have anything to do with the cohort, but like on words of wisdom while
I
everyone's doing their
mean,
things.
I think that I'm so glad when we scheduled this webinar, we didn't really have a topic. We were like, well, we're good at vamping. We'll just talk to each other for an
Yeah.
hour. Everyone will love it. But I really love that what sort of organically developed was this idea of community building. I think community building is the number one most important thing that you can be doing at any aspect, at any moment of your career. It will help you for Kickstarter. It will also help you for everything else in your life. So any efforts that you make in this area are going to be good for you. These are the people who are going to support your project, who are going to give you the tough love when you need it, who are going to help you grow, who are going to be like, your sounding board for like anything that you're doing. So, I think, there are no bad tactics in promotion and there are no bad tactics in community building. Just don't be a jerk.
And on that note, guys, this has been great. We have 2 upcoming webinars. We're not sure which one's happening next month, so I'm going to tell you about both of them just in case. One is going to be with head of games. So it'll be the games department, which we are really excited because we love the idea of talking about IP crossover. And Oriana and I have been talking about this a lot lately. You can have a novel and take that novel and expand it through IP, whether it's comics or lit RPG, or if it's a game or, art pieces, whatever you guys, are interested in expanding that IP. So we're going to have somebody from games, but I don't know if that's going to be next month or the month after. And then we're also going to have a CPA on, I am blanking on Seth's last name. So if anyone knows it, Seth, Jessica Dean Norris's husband, but I don't know if that's her author name. But anyway, Seth is a CPA, and he's going to come on and talk about taxes and money when it comes to Kickstarter, which I know we all have questions about that and taxes and the money aspect of it, which I don't even have a great clear understanding of. So one of those will be next month and then the month after that. So please feel free to sign up. It'll be on our website. to sign up for either one of those. And yeah, I think we've got everyone. Amanda, give me the thumbs up if we've got all the Kickstarter links.
I got him. I finally got the last one. And it is Seth Norris.
Seth Norris. Okay, great.
Seth Norris.
Yeah, I'm like, I think they have the same last name, but what if I'm wrong? So great. So Seth Norris, awesome. So we'll have either one of those next month and then the month after that. So I'm looking really forward to it. And as always, thanks guys for being here today. And Oriana, you're the best. I love you.
Thank you for having me. What a delight. And thank you all for spending an hour with me this morning.
She got in at 3 a.m., by the way,
I
guys.
did get in. That's
Yeah.
true. I
So
did.
this was,
Let's all go take a nap.
yeah, everybody, except my team at The Influence. Everyone's working today.
Everybody else.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Bye.